Hello everyone, I am the Enforcer and welcome to the breaking news. Today's breaking news is that an assassination plot against President Zelenskyy conducted by colonels of the Ukrainian Security Directorate has been foiled and those members of the plot have been arrested by the Ukrainian SBU. At the moment, we do have the information that President Zelenskyy is safe and alive following the arrest of the two Ukrainian officials, but this situation has been incredibly concerning and incredibly dangerous due to where the plot came from and also how heavily involved this plot was with the Russian FSB. According to information that they've been able to find after the arrests, the network, who has been pretty much coordinated by the FSB, included two colonels of the State Security Directorate of Ukraine, which were leaking secret information to the Russians about Zelenskyy's whereabouts and also how his security detail is managed. They were actively trying to find a plan to kill President Zelenskyy, and this was the plan that they had come up with and that they were going to execute incredibly soon. Apparently, they have been trying to feed information to the Russian FSB about the exact whereabouts of President Zelenskyy and his security detail and where they were staying. Based off of that, they were then going to find the exact coordinates of the house that Zelenskyy was in, and they were going to launch a typical missile and drone strike on Ukraine, but a specific missile would be targeting the exact location that President Zelenskyy is in. Once that missile hit the building, most likely killing Zelenskyy and Budanov, who was the secondary target in this attack, they were then going to use a drone to then hit the building a second time and kill any stragglers that remained inside the building that survived, including members of the security detail or any other higher-up officials that would have been within the rubble of the building at that time. That would then all be followed by another missile that would have been fired directly onto the building again, wiping out any remains of the drone that may have existed after it exploded, and also wiping any details that would show that this attack was a very deliberate one by the Russians and showing that they were trying to wipe out any remaining evidence and also make sure to wipe out any remaining officials. Really removing the, I guess you could say, direct involvement of the Russians, at least on an evidence end. This is something that is incredibly concerning. We can actually see a picture here from the SBU showing the detained, one of the detained, I believe, colonels of the Security Directorate. And we can also see here them arresting another member of the plot as well, showing off the weapons that they had been able to amass, and also an RPG warhead as well that had been hidden inside of a tire. We don't know why. But beyond that, this is something that was incredibly concerning and incredibly dangerous, as we now know that there are some members in the Ukrainian government and the Ukrainian armed forces, for the large part, that are starting to show that they will, in an opportune time, attempt to follow through with assassination attempts on the president of Ukraine. Once again, this was luckily averted, but probably the worst assassination attempt plot that we have seen over the course of the war, and the one that came the closest to fruition. If a few more days had passed, we believe that President Zelenskyy would have most likely been killed in that Russian assassination, and we would see that the president of Ukraine, and a large part of the top of the Ukrainian government, including Budanov, would be dead by that point. So very lucky that they were able to catch these people at this time, but security is once again becoming a primary concern of Ukraine. And speaking of security becoming a primary concern in the modern day, we were able to get breaking news out of London that a massive data breach has occurred due to hackers breaking into the database of the United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense, according to the BBC. The publication said that they gained access to the system containing information on salaries and bank details of current and former service members, meaning that whoever hacked into this database, and it's believed at the moment that it may be the People's Republic of China, now has exact information about the debts that some service members may be in, and that means that they may be able to blackmail them or bribe them into trying to do the bidding of the People's Republic of China inside of the British military. This is once again showing that security breaches are becoming a major concern, and not only that, this security breach here may have major implications down the road for the people inside of the British military that are targeted by foreign agents and attempted to sway in their direction so that way they don't end up releasing incriminating information on them or also using their debt against them. As debt is usually one of the major ways that foreign governments are able to subvert other members of other armed forces in different countries and have them do their bidding in an attempt to try and get them out of their own personal debt. This brings us on into a very important word about security from our sponsor. With more and more cyber attacks compromising the security of nations, businesses, and individuals, the need to protect oneself from the evildoers of the world has become more and more needed. That's why Surfshark is here to be your shield against those nefarious people who would do you harm. Surfshark is a VPN provider that will help you keep your personal data secure and your activity private across the internet. How it does this is by encrypting your data where no one can really see what you're doing, a lot like camouflage would. What's even better is that you can mask your location too, making it more difficult to see where you're even accessing the internet from, keeping you worry-free where you know that someone isn't going to steal your identity while watching our stream. I personally use Surfshark VPN all the time to protect ourselves from sketchy people who would try to track us down for what we say and do on the internet. A vital must in the kind of content we create and the kind that you watch. If you go to their website and enter the code THEENFORCER, you can get 3 months free. This will help you to find out that Surfshark is for you, and to top it all off, there is no risk in trying Surfshark because they have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Make sure to use our link and secure your privacy with Surfshark today, and also help out this channel by taking a look at it as well. Huge thanks to Surfshark VPN once again for sponsoring this video. Moving on from that word from our sponsor, we were also able to hear that a massive security breach almost happened in Poland today as well, as we heard that a wiretap was found in a Polish government building's meeting about the energy situation inside of Poland. According to the information, Polish security services deactivated the wiretaps that were in the room where a meeting of the Council of Ministers was to be held, and we hear that the ministers plan on discussing energy issues of Poland inside of this building, and it's once again showing that the Russian Federation is trying their best to find out as much incriminating information as possible from any Western country that they can find anywhere, including the United Kingdom, Poland, and also trying to carry out the assassination plot on President Zelenskyy inside of Ukraine. They're also ramping up pressure. A lot. We heard today from TASS, which is a Russian news agency, that Belarus and the Russian Federation are going to be holding tactical nuclear drills inside of Belarus together in unison. Tactical nuclear weapons would be used in the breakout of a conventional war to try and nuke large army corps groups that would be clustered up into a large unit for the large part and pretty much decimate or destroy a large part of NATO's forces on the ground before they could actually engage in conventional warfare. This is a major concern of Western countries, including Poland, which has requested that the United States move their tactical nuclear weapons from Germany and into Poland, and it's continuing to show us that the Russians are once again trying to ramp up pressure as best they can, and they're also trying to use subversive and covert techniques throughout the Western world to try and get their aims achieved, which is winning the war in Ukraine or leveraging the weaknesses of Western countries to knock them out of supporting Ukraine in the war and eventually leading to Ukraine's defeat at some point in the future. This is all showing us that the Russians are getting fairly desperate right now in the war, and they're trying to find a way, anyway, to leverage any kind of advantage that they may have in any kind of situation to try and force the West out of supporting Ukraine or force individual countries in NATO out of supporting Ukraine in this current war. Meanwhile, speaking of war, the invasion by Israel into the area of Rafah has begun, and we were able to get a large amount of video and picture evidence showing the movement of Israeli armed forces as they secure the border crossing in between Gaza and Egypt, and not only that, they begin to move in and also conduct a larger raids. We were able to hear the sound of helicopters flying around the Gaza Strip in this clip right here. This was filmed from the Egyptian side of the Rafah border crossing, and we can hear the sound of the helicopters firing Hydra 70s, and we can also hear the sounds of the chain gun as well, sporadically. That's the end of that clip right there. We're going to cut that one a little bit short and move on into our next clip, where we got to see that Israeli forces were moving into the Gaza border crossing and had officially captured it. You can see them moving through. We can also see an M113 waving the flag of Israel over the border crossing. And just right over there to the right side of the screen for a brief moment, you could actually see the Egyptian side of the border inside of the Sinai Peninsula. We now see the drone continuing to fly over the border crossing, showing the Israeli vehicles that are currently throughout the area. We can also see a couple of Namer APCs have joined them, showing that there's most likely dismounted infantry operations occurring within the area of the border crossing. The clip then ends, but once again confirming that Israeli forces have now taken complete control of the area of the Gaza-Egyptian border and are now going to be making sure to push on deeper into Rafah and squeeze out the remaining Hamas forces that have moved further south and south through their operations from Gaza and Han Yunis and finally into the area of Rafah. We assume that this will be one of the last times that we see Hamas in full operation, as they'll most likely be moving completely into guerrilla warfare or completely underground, unlike prior times where we have seen them conducting continued rocket and missile attacks on Ukraine with their rocket and missile batteries, which were active in earlier months of the conflict. Moving on from that, we also got to see Israeli forces driving along the Gaza-Egypt border. That fence you're seeing on the left side of the screen is actually the Gaza-Egyptian border.
עד ציר פילדלפי, תראו איזה יופי, דגל ישראל.
We see the APC continuing to move forward, and that's the end of the clip. But once again, showing us a very clear view of what's going on within the area of the southern Gaza Strip as the Israelis have now invaded Rafah. We do believe that Israeli forces are still currently amassing for a ground invasion of southern Lebanon as well, and we assume that that invasion may be going forward at some point in the very near future, within days or weeks. If that invasion begins, we will be making sure to cover that here on this channel, but at the moment, that is all of the major breaking news that we have. I have to thank every single one of y'all so much once again for watching, and if y'all did enjoy, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, and make sure to comment, and also, if you really enjoy it and you would like to help these video projects to be possible, make sure to click on the link in the description below and go support us on Patreon. I cannot give a big enough shout out to every single one of our Patreons who are currently there, as they help to make these kinds of video projects possible and help us to keep on covering the news. And so with that, I thank you all once again for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.